Johnathan Rand's Lair of the Lansing Leprechauns, Chapters 1, 2, and 3. Chapter 1. Is it ever going to stop raining? I asked. I'm sure it will soon enough, Fern, Mom said. Her voice surprised me. I had thought I was alone in the living room, except for Bentley, our dog, and I had spoken the words out loud, thinking they would be heard only by me. And Bentley, of course. But I flinched a little when I heard my mom speak. She had caught me off guard. I turned, and Mom was standing at the foot of the carpeted stairs, and I hadn't heard her come down. It seems like it's been raining forever, I continued. I don't think it's ever going to stop, and I'd really like to go outside. I hate being stuck here in the house. I think I heard that it's supposed to end later today, Mom said, glancing at the phone in her hand. The sun is supposed to come out. I hope so, I said. I'm going crazy. Mom smiled. Well, we sure need the rain, she said. It's been a dry summer. It's about time for a good long storm. All the plants were dry and dying. See how green the grass is now? I looked out the rain-streaked window. Mom was right, of course. It had been a dry summer. When the rain came, everyone seemed happy about it, but that was days ago. Yeah, I replied, I know we need rain, but not this much. Mom just laughed and made her way to the kitchen. I bet you'd like to go outside too, huh, boy, I said, glancing at Bentley. Bentley is a brown and white boxer mixed with a couple different breeds. At least that's what our vet says. We adopted him from the animal shelter last year, and he's become one of my very best friends. Bentley lifted his chin from his front paws. He cocked his head and looked at me with his big brown eyes, knowing I'd spoken to him, and he was waiting to hear my next words. I swear that sometimes Bentley can understand what I'm saying. You want to go outside too, don't you? I asked, kneeling down and patting him on the head. Bentley thumped his tail happily and licked my wrist. Don't worry, I continued. I gave him a quick hug and then stood. Again, he looked at me expectantly, wondering if we were going somewhere and what we were going to do. I looked out the window again, wishing it would quit raining. 2 hours later, I got my wish. The clouds broke into enormous white and gray puzzle pieces, changing shape as they drifted apart, allowing the backdrop of a beautiful blue sky to peek through. It was still raining, but not quite as hard. Blades of sun knifed through the clouds, shining on trees and making their leaves all glossy and bright, green and healthy. And not far away, a spectacular rainbow with vibrant, shimmering colors arced through the sky. The sight was mesmerizing, and I was hypnotized by the simple, sheer beauty of the phenomena. All I could do was stare. The rainbow looked like it ended in a vacant field a few blocks away. Suddenly I had an idea. There's supposed to be a pot of gold at the end of every rainbow, I thought. At least that's what I've always heard. Of course it wasn't true. Of course it was silly. Still. Want to go find a pot of gold, Bentley? I asked my dog. Hearing his name and the question in my voice, Bentley stood. He stretched and then nuzzled my hand that was dangling at my side. I gave him a few quick scratches behind his ears, and his big, loving eyes stared up at me. I'm ready, Fern. Let's go, his eyes said. I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy. Can I go too? Can I? Huh? I laughed, knelt down, and kissed his nose. If you think that's gross, well, I guess you're just not a dog person. All right, I said, and I glanced out the window. The rainbow was still there, radiating brilliantly, but I knew it would be gone soon. Mom, I'm taking Bentley to find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I called out. I think it's in the field. Watch the time, Fern, Mom replied from the kitchen. Be home for dinner. I felt for my phone in my back pocket, making sure it was there. Okay, I said, and if you find any gold, bring some back for your father and me. We could use it to help pay for a few things around here. Ready to go? I asked Bentley as I walked to the front door. His leash was dangling from a coat rack, and when he saw me grab it, he rushed to me and sat shaking with excitement as I fastened the leash to his collar. Good boy, I said. Let's go find that pot of gold. Of course, I knew we wouldn't find a pot of gold. That was just a legend, an old wives' tale, a myth, a make-believe story. But there was something waiting for us at the end of the rainbow. The beginning of a nightmare. Chapter 2. Water puddled on the streets and on the sidewalk. Wet grass glistened in the sun. All the trees and shrubs were bright green and lush and beautiful. The air was warm and smelled fresh and new, as if the storm had scrubbed the neighborhood clean. The sun was shining, most of the clouds had fled, and it was a gorgeous day. It was hard to imagine that only hours before, rain had been falling in sheets and buckets from a dark gray sky. And in the distance, the rainbow was still there, gleaming and shining. I knew it wouldn't be long before it was gone. I wondered how many other people in Lansing had spotted it. That's where we live, of course. Lansing is a city in Michigan's Lower Peninsula, and it's probably known best for being the state capital. The city is located near the lower middle part of the state, about halfway between Grand Rapids to the west and Detroit to the east. Not far from our house is the Michigan State Capitol building. That's where all the Michigan legislators and lawmakers work, including the governor. There are a lot of other people who work there too. So as far as cities go, Lansing is a pretty important place. Bentley was sniffing a bush, and I tugged gently at his leash, pulling him away. "Come on, Bentley," I said. "We have more important things to find." We crossed the street and strode along the sidewalk. Earlier in the year, my friends and I had created colorful designs on the concrete using chalk. Over the summer, our creations had faded. Now only blotchy blobs remained, distorted and misshapen by the rain and bleached by weeks in the sun. I glanced up, and the rainbow was fading, but it was still there. It arced high in the sky, one end of it still stretching down into the distant empty meadow not far from our home. Except now, the end of it appeared to be obscured by a small forest at the far edge of the field. Soon Bentley and I were wading through tall knee-high grass. After only a few steps, my shoes and pant legs were soaked, but I didn't mind. I hardly paid attention anyway, because I was too focused on the rainbow in the sky. I had thought that by now it would have faded away. The sun was shining, of course. That created the rainbow, but it also must be raining, which is how rainbows are made. The sun shining on the falling rain creates a prism effect, causing the beautiful band of colors I was now seeing. And the rainbow's end was still in the middle of the clump of trees at the edge of the field. "The rainbow is still there," I said to Bentley. "That's odd." Although I had set out in search of the end of the rainbow to find the mythical pot of gold, I really didn't believe I'd find anything. In fact, I knew I wouldn't find the end of the rainbow. I was just looking for something to do after being cooped up in the house for so many days and not being able to go outside. I could hear the sounds of the city in the distance, the hum of tires on the pavement, a car horn here and there, a small airplane in the sky. And closer to me, I could hear droplets of water falling from the trees, making gentle tapping sounds as they collided with leaves. Bentley stood rigid and stiff, staring into the woods. In the sky, the end of the rainbow fell into the canopy of trees and vanished. "Ready to find some gold?" I asked Bentley with a laugh. Bentley glanced at me and wagged his tail, but then returned his gaze to the forest. He seemed intensely interested in something, focused and attentive, on guard. "What is it, buddy?" I asked. "See a bunny rabbit?" I started walking ahead into the forest. Bentley came along at my heels. I'd been in the field dozens of times, but I'd never ventured to the small gathering of trees on the far side where I was at the moment. The field was a place where my friends and I played during the summer months, but we really didn't have cause to explore the other side where the trees grew. There wasn't a trail to follow, but I wasn't concerned about getting lost. I knew that the forest was very small, and we were close to the edge of the field, which bordered another neighborhood on the other side. Bentley stopped walking and started growling softly. I too stopped walking, alarmed by the warning in Bentley's growl. Dogs have intuition and instincts that humans don't, and they can see and hear things we can't. "What do you see?" I whispered. Bentley shot me a quick glance and then returned his gaze to the woods. I turned in the direction he was looking, but I didn't see or hear anything different or strange, and it was unlikely that there was someone else in the woods. I knew none of my friends would be here, not now, not when it had been raining only a short time ago. Bentley and I were alone, or that's what I thought at that moment. And then I took a few more steps and made a discovery that would turn my world upside down and inside out. Chapter 3. When I took a few steps forward, Bentley didn't follow. He stood his ground until the leash became taut behind me. I turned and looked at him. "What's the matter?" I asked. And yes, I did expect him to answer. Not in any human way, not with some sort of voice or anything. But I knew my dog well enough to know that he could communicate in his own way. And I was sure he could understand at least the intent of my words, if not their meaning. Bentley wagged his tail a few times, glancing at me and then at the forest. "There's nothing there," I said. "Come." Reluctantly, Bentley stopped growling and followed. 1 step, 2, 3, 4, 5. I stopped walking. Bentley stopped. What in the world? I thought. I blinked my eyes several times, but nothing changed. Ahead of us, partially obscured by trees, were blue mushrooms of enormous size. Not only that, but they were glowing, shimmering like neon lights. Again, I blinked my eyes, thinking that I was seeing things, or maybe it was my mind playing tricks on me. Nope, The mushrooms were still there, tall and blue, glowing. Bentley began growling softly again, but it wasn't a mean growl. It was a growl of gentle warning, but curiosity too. He was leaning forward, caught by his own desire to flee and his urge to move ahead, to explore this strange mystery we were both seeing. Water dripped from trees, and a few droplets landed on my head. One fell on my cheek, and I wiped it away. I took another step, and then another. Bentley, attached to his leash, had no choice but to come with me. Mushrooms, giant, blue, and glowing, towered above us, as tall as a one-story house. I counted 8 of them. They were all about the same size, and their stems, growing up from the ground, were at least 2 feet in diameter, bigger than some tree trunks. What I was seeing, I knew was impossible. While I haven't been all over the world, I knew enough that no mushroom on Earth grew to this size. And yet, here they were, 8 of them in all, tall and blue and glowing, as if electricity were running through them. I stood in shocked amazement, marveling at the mysterious discovery, already knowing what my mom and dad would say. Suddenly I remembered my phone in my back pocket. I pulled it out and turned it on, swiped to the camera app, and clicked off a few pictures. In the tiny glass window, the frozen images were crisp and clear. There, I thought, proof. Now I have proof to show people. I took a few more pictures, but then I had another idea. Closing out the camera app, I quickly speed dialed Mom, but the call wouldn't go through. I looked at the signal indicator and only 1 bar was lit. I tried calling again, but the same thing happened. I quickly composed a text. Usually a text will go through when a call won't. At the field, found giant mushrooms. I hit send. Whoosh. I waited. Ding. That's nice. My fingers tapped quickly and I replied, I'm serious. Send. Whoosh. Waited. Ding. Don't eat any of them. Some mushrooms are poisonous. I swiped through my image library and found one of the pictures of the mushrooms. I tried sending it to my mom, but it failed. Tried again, failed, and again. Ugh, I said out loud. And Bentley looked at me and he wagged his tail. I can't get this picture to go through, Bentley, I said. Bentley nudged my knee with his nose, and then he quickly snapped his head sideways, alerted by something he saw or heard. He stood motionless, growling softly. What? I asked. What do you... I stopped speaking when I heard a noise, or rather, a voice. A thin, tiny voice not far away. It stopped suddenly, as if whoever was speaking was suddenly aware that someone had heard them. Bentley continued to growl softly. Shush, I said quietly. I looked around and up, still marveling at the giant mushrooms all around. And then, around the base of one of the giant mushrooms, something moved. A small branch twitched and then stilled. Someone was there. Someone was watching us. And by the time I decided to turn and run, it was already too late.